Okay, I guess it's time for our meeting to start, and I'd like to thank everyone for attending the Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'd like to remind everyone as we get underway, this meeting is in person and online through Zoom and is being recorded. Everyone online will be muted with the exception of committee members and staff. All comments and questions are to be directed through the chair from committee members, staff, and the public. I'd like to remind committee members you must speak into the microphone so that everyone online and in person can hear you. For those attendees that are online, your video picture will not be displayed. You will be muted and will not be able to unmute yourself during an application that you have not requested to attend unless you raise your hand. At the beginning of each application, I will call the application forward. The owner or applicant in attendance may come to the table to your right to speak with the committee. This microphone is live and you must speak into the microphone. If the owner or applicant is online, you will be unmuted. The committee will ask for comments from the public during each application. Please provide your name and address for the public record. All comments and questions should be directed to the chair and only speak when it is your turn. If you're in person and would like to speak to an application one at a time, you may approach the podium and speak. This microphone will be live. If you're on the video portion of the Zoom meeting and you would like to speak and your microphone is muted, please click on the raise hand button located at the bottom of your screen. Staff will notify me that you wish to speak. If you're attending by telephone and you wish to speak, please dial *9 to raise your hand, which will signal staff that you wish to speak. Once a decision has been made concerning your application, you're welcome to leave the hearing while the committee continues with the next application. The members in attendance today are Bruce Craig, Paul Veenstra, Todd Robertson, and myself, Jim Keogh. Our staff in attendance are Senior Planner Lindsay Lambert, Planner Kyle Peel, and Secretary Treasurer Amanda Werner McKellar, and our Chief Building Official, Paul Nixon. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, the first today is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a mover and a seconder or any changes you wish to make?
I'll move.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, it's been moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul. The agenda be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Yes. Very. Whoop. Alrighty. Second is the adoption of the minutes. So is there any changes or anything we wish
I have none.
to add to the minutes?
Nope.
None here, sir.
Need a mover and a seconder again? Moved by Todd, seconded by Paul. Been moved by Todd, seconded by Paul, that the minutes of the January 27th, 2026 hearing of the Committee of Adjustment be adopted as circulated. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And I am also carried. So, is there anyone today with any pecuniary or other interest otherwise?
None here?
Nope.
None here, sir.
None. I haven't either. So I guess we move on to application 1, which is D13-2026-002-905 Woodridge Lane. And Amanda, would you give us your spiel here?
Yes, the application is requesting zoning relief from the township zoning bylaw to facilitate a dwelling with approximately 104 square meters of ground floor area with approximately 20.8 square meter attached covered deck and approximately 31.2 square meter attached uncovered deck. An existing dwelling is proposed to be demolished to facilitate the proposed development. A new septic system is proposed as well. The proposed new dwelling and attached decking do not comply with the minimum setback from the high watermark of the adjacent water body. An existing detached garage, shed, and marine facility are proposed to remain on the property. Of note, the property overlaps the municipal boundary between Leeds and Thousand Islands and Athens. However, the proposed dwelling that is the subject of the application is within the portion of the property located in Leeds and the Thousand Islands.
Thanks, Amanda. Lindsay, would you like to give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as staff was completing the technical review of this application and preparing our report and recommendation, we did receive some comments from the Township Building Department that identified a potential processing issue with respect to the proposed septic system that would be supporting the new dwelling, in that it was proposed to be or is proposed to be located within the Township of Athens portion of the property. And so that opened up some questions in terms of who would have jurisdiction over the issuance of that permit and how the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands would fit into that picture, with the potential of the Ministry of Environment needing to be involved. And so we needed to pursue follow-up and address those questions to clearly understand what the process would be for the issuance of the permit for the septic system to support the dwelling. That is the subject of this application. So out of caution, staff, in finalizing the report, are recommending deferral of the application. We are finalizing the clarification on that matter with respect to the building permit for the septic system. A Township CBO is here to address any questions if the committee has any related to that. But it is a fairly short turnaround time in terms of the next available Committee of Adjustment meeting being on the 31st. And so staff are recommending deferral, but we believe we have the questions answered and are prepared to bring a report to that next meeting for the committee's consideration. Thank you.
Okay, Amanda, any public comments?
We received comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, but we have not received any written public comments to date.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience or online that wishes to speak to this application? See anybody?
No, I have no one in the audience and no one online looking to speak to the application.
Committee members, start with you, Bruce. Any questions or?
No, just an observation. I guess that according to the drawings, it looks like the proposed septic system is outside of the 30-meter setback. But I understand that it also have to have the proper jurisdiction for, you know, who's responsible for the issuance of the septic system approvals, etc. So I have no problems with deferral.
Paul?
Yeah, nothing here. Either way is fine with me.
Yeah, Todd?
I would echo Mr. Craig's comments around it. It says 37.3 meters or whatever it is. So I guess my question is this more of a jurisdictional issue for the issuance of a building permit, or is it a jurisdictional issue for a Committee of Adjustment decision?
So just to clarify a little bit, typically septic systems are issued under the purview of the building department, and they still would be, but it would have to be under the authority of Athens. So typically before we issue a building permit for a structure, we have to be aware, we have to know that they're able to put a septic system on the property. So we have to wait for Athens to process that septic permit prior to issuing the building permit. Originally, we thought it might have been under the Ministry of Environment, but they've confirmed that it's not theirs. So now we're back to who deals with what. So we're dealing with the house. Athens is going to deal with the septic system.
If I may, as a
Wait.
follow-up,
Nope.
so if I'm understanding correctly, it's really out of due caution in the unlikely circumstance that Athens is not able to issue that or unwilling to issue that building permit, then the homeowner may have to look at alternative options.
That's
for
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like it will be fine as
Yeah,
far as the
fair
location
enough.
goes, but we also have to check to make sure that the application goes to Athens.
Yeah.
Reflects what they're actually building, so it's sized correctly. So they'll handle that part, and we can compare once the permit's issued.
Thank you very much for the clarification and additional information.
Yeah, no problem.
I had no problem with it, but it looks like we're going to be deferring it anyways, correct? Are you saying we could go ahead without deferral?
The committee can decide one way or the other what you want to do. The recommendation before you is to defer. If you want to discuss approval, then that's something that you can look at, so.
I'll just speak now, but at the next meeting, it should go ahead then, right? If Athens is okay, have I got this right, Paul?
Yes.
If Athens, yeah, well,
Yeah.
just defer it and it's pretty well all done for the next meeting.
Yes, so you would need a mover and seconder, and the recommendation before you would be to defer to allow additional time to address building department comments related to the proposed septic system.
Okay, we need a mover and a seconder to defer it then. Okay, moved by Paul, seconded by Todd. It's been moved by Paul, seconded by Todd, that minor variance application number D13-2026-002 for the property municipally known as 905 Woodridge Lane be deferred to allow additional time to address the building department comments related to the proposed septic system. All in favor?
Yes.
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 I am also carried. And next on our list today is D13-2026-003-116 Sultan Road. Amanda, do you give us your?
Yes. The application is requesting a permission to expand the size and footprint of an existing legal non-complying dwelling with a 59.1 square meter second floor addition and a 15.3 square meter addition to the front of the dwelling. The existing dwelling is legal non-complying with respect to the minimum required setback from Selton Road, the front property line, and from the high water mark of the water course located near the middle of the property.
Okay, thank you. Kyle, would you give us your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So this application, as noted, is requesting a permission to expand an existing legal non-complying dwelling with a second floor addition and an addition to the front of the dwelling. The second floor addition is largely proposed to be constructed within the footprint of the existing structure, and the front addition is proposed to encroach 1.1 meters closer to Selton Road and the front lot line. The proposed development will encroach no closer to the high water mark of a water course running through the center of the property than the closest point of the existing dwelling. The proposed expansion is limited. No undue adverse impacts are anticipated beyond what currently exists, and the scale of the proposed structure is in appropriate proportion to the existing legal non-complying dwelling. Of note, as per the building department comments, a septic upgrade appears to be required to permit the proposed development. The existing system is within the required setback from the high water mark, and it was communicated to the applicant early in the process that if an upgrade is required and it is proposed to encroach closer to the high water mark, an additional variance would be required. At that time, the owner confirmed that there is sufficient room on the property to situate a new or upgraded system without encroaching closer to the high water mark. As such, no relief has been included in the recommendation for a septic system, and the details of a potentially upgraded or new septic system will be submitted at a later date for permitting. In conclusion, the Conservation Authority have submitted comments noting no concerns based on their consideration of natural hazards. The application has been found to be consistent with the applicable policies and regulations of the land use planning documents of the township. As such, planning staff recommend approval of this application per the details and conditions enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Amanda, any other public comments?
Just the comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we've not received any further written public comments.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone in the audience in attendance or online that wishes to speak to this application?
We have no one in the audience and no one online looking to speak to the application.
Okay, committee members, Bruce, have you any questions for the applicant?
I have no questions or concerns with this application.
Paul,
Nothing here.
Todd,
None here as well.
nor do I. So we need a mover, moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul, that application D13-2026-003 be approved subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. And we're ready to vote.
Yes.
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 I am also carried. Next on our agenda is D13-2026-004-5 Narrows Lane Road. Amanda, would you give us your?
Yes. So the application is requesting a permission to expand an existing legal non-conforming residential use. The area of the subject property is zoned tourist commercial, and the existing dwelling is legal non-conforming use in the CT zone, does not permit a residential dwelling as the primary and sole use of the property. The application is requesting to expand the existing legal non-conforming residential dwelling by demolishing the existing attached garage and breezeway and replacing it with a larger attached garage that includes a storage loft. A sunroom addition is also proposed. The existing 95 square meter of attached decking is being removed and replaced with poured concrete decking on the north and south sides of the dwelling, totaling 130 square meters. The existing footprint of the dwelling and attached garage is 213 square meters, and following the removals and additions, the new footprint is 270 square meters. The expansion involves the existing roof line of the dwelling being altered and the existing maximum height being maintained. Further, a new detached accessory structure, a garage with a footprint of 170 square meters, and a swimming pool are proposed. A minor variance is also requested to permit the zoning relief from the maximum height of the provision of the zoning bylaw for the proposed detached accessory structure garage.
Thank you. Lindsay, could we have your report, please?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. So as noted by Amanda, this application is a combined permission and minor variance application. With respect to the permission, the area of existing and proposed residential use on the property is currently zoned tourist commercial. And so an application to expand the residential structures on the property triggers a permission application to expand a legal non-conforming use. The expansions proposed include altering the roof line of the existing dwelling, demolishing an existing attached garage and breezeway and building a larger attached garage, a sunroom addition, removing the attached decking and expanding with new attached decking, a swimming pool, as well as a proposed detached garage. With respect to the minor variance, the proposed detached garage, there is zoning relief sought for that because it exceeds the maximum height provision for a detached garage. With respect to staff's analysis of the application, the proposed expansion of the legal nonconforming use meets the policy tests established in the township official plan for such an expansion. And it also preserves the ability in the future for the property owner to introduce a commercial use that complies with the tourist commercial zone, in which case the existing residential use is permitted as an accessory. An accessory dwelling unit is permitted, subordinate to a primary commercial use. And then with respect to the proposed zoning relief for the minor variance, the maximum height is 7 meters for an accessory structure. The application is proposing 7.6 meters. Staff's review has concluded that through our report, the proposal meets the 4 tests of a minor variance established under the Planning Act. We've received technical comments from the CRCA noting no concerns from a natural hazards perspective. We haven't received any comments from the public with respect to the application to date. and therefore staff are recommending approval of the application in accordance with the details and conditions we've enclosed within the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Amanda, any other public comments?
Just the comments from the Conservation Authority with no objections, and we've not received any further written public comments.
Is there, excuse me, anyone in the audience or online that wishes to speak to this application?
We have no one in the audience and no one online looking to speak to the application.
Committee members, Bruce. did you-
I have no questions or concerns with this application.
Paul? Oh.
Yep, none here.
Todd.
Through you, Chair, if I could just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. It's zoned commercial tourist with a residential dwelling on it. And if it were to be used for a purpose consistent with the zoning down the road, the residential dwelling could continue to exist and be used, right? I just want to make sure I had that clear. I think I heard you properly.
Through you, Chair. Yes, there are a number of primary tourist commercial uses that are permitted in the CT zone of the township zoning bylaw. But the zone also permits an accessory dwelling unit as a permitted use.
Thank you. I had no concerns with the application. It's just an opportunity for education for me on the zoning purposes. So I appreciate it. No concerns, sir.
Yep, very good. No, I have no concerns either, so. I guess we need a mover and a seconder again. Moved by Todd, seconded by Bruce. Moved by Todd, seconded by Bruce, that application D13-2026-004 be approved, subject to conditions as included in the planner's report and the decision of the committee. You're ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
And I am also carried. So we'll skip this next then.
No, so the next item on the agenda is the appointment of the vice chair. What we would be looking for is someone to either volunteer or nominations for one of our committee members that would like to take on this role for the next few months.
I would like to nominate Todd.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? And then I'll ask Todd if he wants to.
I'll second that.
Okay. And Todd, are you in agreement with that?
I'll accept the nomination, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you. So we'll have Jim do the resolution.
Okay. So it's been moved by Bruce, and seconded by Paul, that Todd Robertson is appointed vice chair of the Committee of Adjustment. We're ready to vote.
Yes, here.
Yes,
I am also carried.
Perfect. Thank you. Then the next item is our discussion on the small accessory structures for the 30-meter water setback. And for the record, Director of Planning, Marnie Vendetti, has just joined the discussion. And I will let one of you take over the discussion. Who wants to lead it?
Through you, Jim, one question. I'm wondering, I hate to postpone this any further, but we may be having a new member join us, and would be nice if they could be privy to the educational part of it, because they're kind of coming in on the short end of things with little to no education. Any thoughts?
Okay, I'll speak to that. It's been deferred and put on and deferred and put on for months, and we might not have another member. Who knows, if somebody doesn't fill the position. So, I mean, I would like us to go ahead and hit with it. I understand what you're saying, Bruce, but you know what I mean? It's been quite a while now. Yeah, Todd?
Yeah, I would support moving forward in the face of other unknowns.
Mhm.
Um,
Paul?
no, I like to move forward as well.
Yep. So one of you guys want to start? Yep, forward hold. One of you guys start the questions. Anything for Marnie? No.
No,
Yeah,
I
okay,
did
go
it.
ahead,
It's
Todd.
not so much with the content. Thank you for the consultation that was done with the county. Can you ensure that I understand the jurisdictional piece? Like, again, as I asked for education on the previous item, but just what's the jurisdiction of the county versus the jurisdiction of township when it comes to, and I know there's overarching provincial legislation on top of that. So how does that all trickle down? You know, could it theoretically, I guess my question is, could a decision be made at township level that gets overridden at some point somewhere else?
So through you, this is kind of, I'm going to go planning basics in terms of policy hierarchy stuff. So province has the provincial Provincial Planning Act. Yeah. And then coming out of that is the provincial planning statement. And any official plan has to be consistent with the policies of the provincial planning statement. So coming out of the provincial planning statement and the Planning Act, then we have the official plan of the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, which their official plan has to be consistent with the provincial policy. Then we have the official plan of the Township of Leeds and Thousand Islands as a lower tier within the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville, of which our official plan has to be consistent with their official plan and consistent with the provincial policy. So it's kind of like a downhill domino where we've got the official or the provincial policy, then the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville policy. Then we have our official plan, which then goes into our zoning bylaw, implements our official plan. Any zoning amendment or change to our zoning bylaw has to be consistent with our official plan, the United Counties official plan, and the provincial planning statement, which is coming out of the Ontario Planning Act. So basically, it's a trickle down that every level of policy coming under has to be consistent with the ones above it. So when you look at a minor variance application, one of the tests is it consistent with the intent of the official plan? Is it consistent with the zoning bylaw? So it's a trickle down. Everything has to be consistent with everything else above. Does that help, or did I answer your question?
No, it comments on duplication aside, it does answer my question. You speak of consistency, and I think there's another subjective viewpoint of not inconsistency, but almost contrariness to, right? I guess what I'm saying, and I think you answered my question, but what I'm saying is, you know, it's almost like the county planning department has, you know, a higher authority than, say, a decision that a council might make here at this level, which to me seems incongruent with what the electorate of this township, who elected the council and the mayor to oversee the planning, it would seem incongruent that a then unelected county planning department would be able to make a decision that might override, or am I thinking that incorrectly?
So just, sorry, through you for clarification, because I forgot the second part of your question when I was answering. A minor variance application, the Committee of Adjustment is independent, quasi-judicial. So your decisions stand, you're the approval authority.
Yeah.
If council makes a decision about a zoning bylaw amendment, it's up to the council of the township to make that decision, and in doing so, considering whether it's consistent with the intent of our official plan. Because we're a two-tier level of government here in the United Counties, the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville is the approval authority for land division and for, which includes plans of subdivision. So if there's an application for a consent or an application for a subdivision, an application for an official plan amendment. If someone's applying to us to amend our official plan,
Okay.
our council would make a resolution regarding that official plan, but ultimately the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville is the approval authority when it comes to official plan amendments, plans of subdivision, or consents. So it gets a little convoluted when you talk about them overriding a decision. I don't know that they would come in and override a decision. In this context, with the comments that they have provided, they're more advisory comments based on their perspective. They couldn't override a decision necessarily.
more of a scope issue per se when you talk,
Yes.
right? Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that clarification. That makes more sense to me. That there's what's in scope and what's out of scope from a municipal perspective.
They saw it on our agenda
Mm-hmm.
and thought that they would comment on it. So what we do in terms of the United Counties is we have regular meetings with all of the planners of the lower tiers throughout the counties. We meet with the planners at United Counties on a regular basis and talk about different things that are coming up and that we're working on. They saw this item on an agenda and said, we're interested in knowing more about this and where you're coming from.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Yeah, I guess, just a question Todd sort of spurred this on. What is the provincial policy statement or mandate for waterfront setbacks?
I don't recall if the 30 meters is specific in provincial policy. The 30 meters isn't dictated through the provincial policy, but the 30 meters is a best practice in terms of it's implemented through our official plan. It's in the United Counties official plan, and then it's further implemented through zoning bylaws. So that's where the 30 meters comes from in terms of being a best practice for ribbon of life. There's also the setbacks from floodplain, which are implemented through our zoning bylaw. So it's what the provincial policy says is that development shouldn't occur within areas of natural hazards. And then that provincial policy is then implemented through more specific official plan policies and zoning.
Okay, yeah, so hypothetically, you could build right up against according to the provincial.
No, the provincial policies say that development shall not be located within areas of natural hazards. So it
But-
establishes the policy intent,
Mhm.
but that policy intent is then to be implemented through local planning documents, which is the official plan and the zoning bylaw, which then establishes the setbacks and the requirements.
But it could be built right beside the hazard, not in it, but right beside it. If the township or the county decided that the setback would be, could be reduced to whatever from 0 to whatever, like right now it's 30 meters, but it could be anywhere from 30 to 0.
He's got something.
Through you, Chair, in addition to the natural hazard policies at the provincial level through the PPS, there are water quality policies that speak to taking measures to protect water quality, and the interpretation of that through the local level is that standard 30-meter minimum setback as the best practice, as Ms. Vendetti has mentioned.
Okay, yeah, no, the only reason I mention it, I just see Gananoque, they're proposing 10-meter setback from the high water mark on the St. Lawrence, which is quite a bit different than the 30-meter. And then as well, there's a ditch running through with, I guess with fish in it and so on, outletting into the river, but a 6-meter setback from the ditch versus the 30. So it's quite a contrast to these policies. Anyways, I just throw that out.
Yeah, I
Like
guess
throw-
all I would say to that is I don't know the specific context of their
Mhm.
policy amendments that they're bringing forward, but we have a lot more variable waterfront than Gananoque does, depending on the areas. And so the other thing about that is the high water mark is, I don't know how they're defining high water mark, and there's also floodplain. So
Oh, it
Gananoque,
was the floodplain. Yeah, excuse me. It was the floodplain, 10 meters from the floodplain.
yeah, so our policy, actually, our zoning is 6 meters from the floodplain, but the floodplain and the high water mark are two different setbacks in two different locations. So I'm hesitant to comment on that only because I don't know the exact context of that and what we're commenting on. But I can say that Gananoque, because of their limited size and the amount of development that's built out in Gananoque, they have a different type of planning there. They do it through a development permit system as opposed to a zoning bylaw. So it's a different process in Gananoque. So it's not comparing zoning
Yeah,
to, it's different. That's all I would caution.
all right. I don't think I have any other questions right now, maybe in a minute, but right now,
Yeah, Bruce.
Are we going to be having a discussion regarding small structures? Like gazebos, small storage things within this 30-meter setback, is that part of today's discussion or?
That is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering,
It's the recommendation of staff that we leave the policies as they are because of the variability of the shorelines in our official plan policies, so that our official plan basically gives us policies to consider allowing small structures where they're appropriate through a minor variance process. We have concerns from a policy perspective in terms of being able to just consider them as of right. So the recommendation that we provided in our overview is that things remain status quo.
that pretty much closes down the discussion, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, obviously, the committee's able to have further discussion and make any recommendations they choose to council, but that's the position of staff based on our review.
Todd?
Right, and I certainly understand your perspective from a liability and control perspective. So I get that totally, and I think I won't speak for my colleagues, but we have discussed this a number of times, so I think
Todd, can you just get a little closer? I can't hear you.
Oh, I apologize. We have discussed this amongst us for a number of times, and I think, you know, the lens through which we're looking at this particular issue comes more from a ratepayer perspective in terms of costs to come forward every time for a minor variance or a permission application, when it's, you know, the cost can be at times equal to the cost of a structure that one wants, though with today's lumber prices, who knows? But so I think we're looking at it through a different lens than perhaps, and I fully respect and understand the lens that building our township staff are looking at it through. So my position, and I'll throw it out there, and if necessary, I'm willing to move forward with whatever it is, a motion or recommendation, however we move forward with this. But my position would be that I would ask that some consideration be given to this committee making a recommendation to council to review that with a view to reducing the financial burden on ratepayers who wish to have small accessory structures within 30 meters of the high water mark. So whether that looks at making it a matter of right of course, whether that looks at reducing the fees for based on square footage, whatever that case may be, that somehow they reduce the fiduciary burden on individuals only looking to build small structures like gazebos, decks, small storage structures, whatever the case may be.
You feel anything else, Bruce or Paul?
No, Todd covered it quite well, and I support that view.
I support that. I don't know if it's doable, but I support it.
Yeah, I do. And I see where what Todd's saying over the years, and this one really bugged me, was these above ground swimming pools. And the worst case scenario was you would have $16,000 of potable water drain onto the ground, and they'd have to go and, you know, come through for a minor variance to put them. And like I said, if the power was out, I'm sure a lot of people would have been glad to went out and dip water out of the swimming pool. It's fit to swim in. And we were worried about this. The one was down on the Escott Road, and it wasn't a water course. It's a drainage ditch. They're different, big time different. And I said, you went down there and knocked a hole in it. It would never make it 200 yards. It was that dry that summer. It would all be gone in. But the people had to go through the whole minor variance and everything. And even at cost at that time, I actually priced the pool, and it was half the price of the above ground pool for the variance. So we've done quite a few of them actually over the years. I just close my eyes and say, well, nothing I can do about it, but there should be something like for some of that. And they're never permanent. I had one actually, and I didn't do anything. We had it at the farm. It was on the, nobody could see it from the road. And you know what? The kids grew up and I took it down. And I saved whatever the cost of this would have been, maybe. I don't know. I think we were far enough from the road, I wouldn't have needed one. But I'm sure there were permits I should have had, but I didn't. You know, that's pretty near 40 years ago. But most of them above ground pools end up, once again, they're not a permanent structure. So that's relating to what Todd said, another cost for people. I question whether it should be borne, but I don't bang my head against the wall. That doesn't do any good. So I think, you know, I understand where you guys are. Use of one look, you know, of all these tiers, the county and the province. But a lot of it, doesn't relate to common sense. Sometimes, most of the time it does, but.
So one of the items that's in our work plan for this year is a review of planning fees.
Mhm.
I'm much more comfortable with looking at the pricing structure for a reduced potential. Realistically, and I'm not saying this to be inflammatory, but when you look at what the price of minor variance is, I think it's $850 for a minor variance. When you consider the cost of us processing those applications,
Mm.
there's not a whole lot of, that's not, I know, I'm not saying $850 isn't a substantial amount of money, but I'm just saying that the cost of
Yep.
processing the application, there isn't a lot of leeway in terms
No,
of
no.
the cost of what it's costing us to
Yeah.
process an application. But I would be more comfortable, or I could be supportive of looking at costs for detached accessory structures in terms of the types of applications and what those application fees would be relative to. That's something I think that we can certainly look at, is what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say, as opposed to trying to do some as of right zoning, which is something we think we have a real challenge in supporting. I think that that is something, if you wanted to make a resolution to council, by all means, that's something that we can look at in the context of our fees review.
Yep.
Uh, we will do a resolution and then, yeah, give us a second and we can draft something up for you. Yeah, nope. If you want to give me your recommendation, let's. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I got council review of the process. I'm hand ready.
I was just gonna say, so you're asking for a review of the process, but are we talking about a review of the process or a review of the fee structure to consider a reduced fee for small ancillary structures within the 30-meter setback? So I think that the proposed wording needs to be more explicit, because it's not just, the process is the process, but it's the zoning requirement for allowing structures within the 30-meter setback. Just so that we're clear in terms of what's being forwarded to council.
Okay. And so technically, like the way we have worded part of the resolutions, that the Committee of Adjustment recommend that council direct staff to include the review of what structures may be permitted within the minimum 30-meter setback from the high water mark of water bodies and consider appropriate provisions within the comprehensive zoning bylaw update. So I'm assuming we want to keep that statement and then include, and that the Committee of Adjustment further recommends a review of the fees, of the applicable fees for small accessory structures being considered within the 30-meter setback of the water body. Is that?
I think it needs to be small detached accessory
Yeah.
structures. Now, the one thing that you've added in there, as you said, within the comprehensive zoning bylaw review, that's something that I would want confirmation if that's what your intent is. So we are planning on doing an update to the comprehensive zoning bylaw and starting that this year. But if this rolls into that, that could take some time to do. So I think that what you are suggesting is that this be looked at outside of that process. Yeah. Roll it into that, or, yeah. So I don't think it should reference that amendment.
Give me a minute. I'm going to type this up.
Just one more question. I guess this could be like a Band-Aid until the comprehensive, and there would be further discussion during the comprehensive with like public input and that sort of thing during the comprehensive, or?
There's a couple of ways to look at it, and it depends on how it comes forward at council or what direction council chooses to take. If
Mm.
we're directed to advance zoning bylaw amendments to move this, there would be a public consultation component of any zoning bylaw amendment that we would need to do to amend the current bylaw. But when we end, if we do an update to the fees, that would be part of it. It would probably be an either or, depending on what direction council takes. It would either be reducing fees or possibly allowing structures within the area. I can't predict which way it would necessarily go. But then depending on what the outcome of that process is, that would likely roll into an updated comprehensive zoning bylaw. But that will also be a component of a public process. There will be multiple
Mhm.
opportunities for public input through that process as well. So it sort of depends which direction council takes with it,
Sure.
but either way, there will be opportunities for public input.
And as a group, we could chime in then as far as comment to the updated zoning bylaw.
Oh, as
Uh,
members of the public, absolutely,
yes.
you can do that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So I've made the change. This is that the Committee of Adjustment recommend that council direct staff to review what structures may be permitted within the minimum 30-meter setback from the high water mark of water bodies. And further, that the Committee of Adjustment recommend that council review the minor variance application fees applicable to small detached accessory structures proposed to be located within the 30-meter setback from the high water mark of water bodies.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank
I
you.
guess through you, Jim, we're clear, I guess, swimming pool's a structure. I guess I just want that.
Yes, that would include uncovered, small gazebos, sheds, swimming pools, that sort of nature of things.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so based on that resolution, we would need a mover and a seconder. Okay, so I have it here, so I'll just read it for you. Moved by Todd, seconded by Paul, that the Committee of Adjustment recommend that council direct staff to review what structures may be permitted within the minimum 30-meter setback from the high water mark of water bodies, and further that the Committee of Adjustment recommend that council review the minor variance application fees applicable to small detached accessory structures proposed to be located within the 30-meter setback from the high water mark of water bodies. All in favor?
Yes, here.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we can go on to the next item of discussion.
Before we move ahead, just through you, Chair, if I could ask one more process question. Is again, just for information. So when a recommendation comes from a committee like this or another committee within the township, do they get a copy of the minutes, or do they get a summary report of, kind of the context behind the recommendation type thing? Or do they just, I guess I'm asking, do they just get the words that were just read, or do they know the detail behind it? And that sort of thing.
Through you, a report from staff will go forward providing that context.
So next on here with discussion, site plan control agreements. It's probably been long enough. We forgot what we asked.
Sorry, if I can just provide some, I don't know if everybody recalls, we obtained a legal opinion that was distributed in December. So that's what this item refers to.
Okay. No, I'm sure I didn't keep it.
I haven't seen the legal opinion. Was it emailed to me or?
Yeah, it would have been back in December. But we'll let, if
I was
Marnie
a-
wants to.
I was
Just-
away, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was negligent not looking at all my emails.
That's fine. I can provide sort of a
I
summary.
was just gonna say,
Legal
maybe you
opinion.
could do that for us.
So in response to the questions being asked by the committee in terms of site plan versus development agreements, under the Planning Act, the authority is given to municipalities to apply or require development agreements as a condition of minor variance and permission approval through the Committee of Adjustment. We've been using site plan control because it's also required by bylaw. So we've been using site plan control as the mechanism to implement things, conditions like the private road requirements and things like that. But based on a discussion with our lawyer, because we followed up with our lawyer based on the questions coming from the committee, it's their opinion that we should be using development agreements. Basically, development agreements and site plan control achieve essentially the same end. It's an agreement registered on title that acknowledges what the conditions and requirements are, and it's binding on future owners of the property. So what the legal opinion basically says is that development agreements is what should be used in these circumstances. In speaking with the lawyer, implementing through a condition through an approval, like saying on a notice of decision saying that the owner acknowledges that they're on a private road and they can't waive liability. So if the committee says we want to use a condition, that's not binding, it's not effective, and it doesn't achieve what we need to achieve. And we should be using a development agreement in those circumstances. So essentially, that's what the legal opinion said. I have a copy here that I've got some highlights on, but I can certainly give it to you if you want to take it to read it. But that's really what the legal opinion says, is that development agreements are a tool that are provided to us to use and that we should be using it, and it's the right way to approach these situations.
So is it solely to avoid liability if there's,
It's
I
not
think-
just liability. So in a situation, let's say somebody's proposing a structure in the area of a provincially significant wetland, and we've required an environmental impact review to help justify the location of that structure being there. Development agreement would be the tool that would be appropriate to register any recommendations out of that environmental impact. So say it says that, I'm trying to make something up off the top of my head right now, that you're not to drain your pool during these certain months of the year, or that some of them we typically see as if it's an area like black rat snake or something, that you're supposed to not move the rat snakes and leave them alone, or you're supposed to leave, I know, you're supposed to leave logs that have fallen as potential nesting habitat and things like that. So that's how we would implement those recommendations from the environmental impact statement, which is part of the justification for supporting a variance. That way, any future purchasers of the property are aware of the recommendations coming out of the studies and they're registered on title. So it's liability, it's notice to future owners, it's implementing conditions of approval. And so that's the right mechanism to be doing it when it's an application to this committee.
just the recommendation, or that once it's registered, whatever it says there is more than a recommendation?
Well, it's binding on them in terms of it's something that we can go back and say, you've entered into an agreement and this is enforceable.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is there any chance we could all of us get a copy of that?
Absolutely, yeah, we
Yeah.
can go make some copies.
Yeah,
right now.
that only, we're here, don't take a minute,
Yeah.
and then we'd have it. And next time we won't look so.
Yeah, we can certainly provide you all with a copy right now.
Through you, Chair. to Marnie. Is a development agreement any less onerous on the property owner than a site plan control agreement? And I'm sort of also echoing Todd's words from previous discussion. I wish there was something that was less financially burdensome, you know,
Impediment.
lots of a financial burden on the property owner. Probably not, but you know, this is what we're looking at from this side of the table is, you know, the cost factor and also the legal factor. You know, some people absolutely do not want a site plan control agreement on their property because of what it implies down the road if they want to sell the property. And I'm guessing that a development agreement is not any less restrictive. I'm not sure if you could clarify that or not.
So in terms of being burdensome, a site plan control agreement or development agreement are essentially going to establish certain conditions and criteria in terms of possible liability or what you can do for development. Once there's a site plan agreement registered, I mean, depending on what it's for. And so say there was a site plan agreement done for a house that's built within the 30-meter setback because it's an existing non-complying structure and they've put on decks and whatever. I mean, we can put specific conditions in a site plan control agreement that says any development that's subject to future minor variances or something could necessitate the need to amend it. But if somebody's building something on a property that has a site plan control agreement on it and it complies with zoning and it's set back from the water, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to make them do a site plan control modification or a future agreement. So a development agreement would essentially be the same. It's just a smaller document in the end. Basically, the development agreement will implement the recommendations that are coming out of the decision. Most cases, the development agreement, if it's on a private lane, is going to address the liability issues in terms of the property is located on a private lane. If police, fire, and ambulance can't get to you because of the condition of the road, the township's not liable. And if there's any recommendations based on studies or anything that are coming out of it, that would be the case. If somebody comes in and there is a minor variance approval required for additional new development, it may necessitate the need for an amendment to an agreement or a new agreement, but it doesn't necessarily tie somebody into having to do these things continuously. It's just if there's more development or significant redevelopment on the property. In terms of the cost is, I think it's, I can't remember what the cost for, it's this 850? 550. It's 550 for a development agreement plus the cost of registration. So, I mean, that's a pretty, again, I'm not downplaying that $500 isn't a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of processing something and the amount of work that goes into creating these things, it's a fairly low fee in terms of what is being built on a lot of these properties.
I just think it just, it does seem to be a burden to, I'm sure to some people, but thanks.
The only thing I would add is that it's not unique to our township. This is something that would be required pretty much anywhere.
It's something sort of, I would say, new though, is it not? In a way that,
No.
no?
It's something that's been ongoing for like, as long as I've been in planning. I'm not going to tell you how long I've been in planning, but it's been a long time. We've been using them, so it's not a new tool.
No, but I mean new here because you haven't been here for a long time.
They've been being used since before I was with the township.
Site plan control, quite a while.
Site plan control and development agreements, yeah.
Yeah,
But we haven't been using them
as much.
to that degree.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much, no.
No,
Yeah.
it was many times, like 15 years ago, it was recommended, Bruce,
Yeah,
and we didn't try to enforce that in our decision.
okay.
No. And I personally don't like it. For a lot, like,
Yeah.
once in a while, there's something for sure it makes sense on, but there's a lot of times.
I will say that we are making people aware of the need for development agreements when they're coming in for
Mm.
pre-consultation before they've even submitted an application, so that it's not a surprise to anybody when it comes forward as a recommendation.
Just one question. Is Tony not with Cunningham anymore?
Tony absolutely is with Cunningham, but Tony is trying to retire and phase himself out of things. So we're working with some of the other associates with the firm.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
If I may, my only
Yep.
question through you, Mr. Chair, is do you need anything further from this committee on this issue moving forward?
No, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair. I just thought it was important that we brought this information to the committee to make you aware of why we're not just asking for these development agreements because it's something we want to do. We're doing it because it's something that's in the best interest of the township.
Perfect. Thank you.
We do need to do one resolution because in the other resolution you had noted that we would accept, receive the information from legal opinion provided by Cunningham Swan. Do we still we still need to do that, right? Regarding it, or?
We don't necessarily need to do a resolution for that.
Okay, perfect.
Could we not just, sorry to interrupt, but could we
can.
not just receive it as information
Yeah.
in the absence of a resolution and, you know, note it in our minutes and stuff, but
Exactly. Yep, I'll do that. Yes, that was the last item on the agenda. We do have a couple of minor variance applications proposed for March 31st. So we will see you again this month, later in the month. No boat rides, still too cold. But other than that, unless anybody else has anything else, we can adjourn. Nope, Marnie?
Sorry, I was just going to give you an update in terms of the advertisement for the new committee member. So that's been posted. It's out right now if you know anybody that you wanted to encourage to apply. I can't remember the last date, but it is on our website. So what we're hoping is to bring that forward to council in April for an appointment so that we would hopefully have a new member for April.
And we're lucky we have 4, so we have quorum anyway. Okay. Okay, so we need a motion to move her to adjourn. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul. That wasn't hard. Okay, moved by Bruce, seconded by Paul, that the Committee of Adjustment will adjourn to meet again at the call of the Secretary Treasurer. All in favor?
Yes.
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 I am also carried. That was easy.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.